You know, selling your home for sale by owner can save you a ton of cash, but it can also feel like you're on an island all by yourself. It's a lot to handle. But what if there was another way? A pro who isn't your typical agent, but a specialist in one very specific type of deal. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the role of a seller finance specialist. So what on earth is a seller finance specialist? Well, think of them as a guide in a very unique kind of home sale, one where you, the seller, basically get to act as the bank for the buyer. Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame from your standard real estate deal. So let's dig in and see what that's all about. All right, to really wrap our heads around what these specialists do, I think the best way is to go straight to the source. Let's hear firsthand how one of them describes their own job in the home selling process. Did you catch that key word in there? Collaborate. Right off the bat, Kevin Young Sr. frames his role as a partnership. He's not saying he's going to swoop in and take over. Nope. He's there to work with for sale by owner sellers side by side. So, if we boil it all down, here's the deal. A specialist is a facilitator. They're not your typical agent who just lists your house and hopes for the best. They have a very specific mission to help FSBO sellers make a seller finance sale actually happen and happen smoothly. Okay, so we get the what, but what about the how? What do they actually do for you? Let's crack open their playbook and look at the step-by-step process a seller can expect. So check this out. It's a very clear process. It doesn't just jump to finding a buyer. Notice how it starts with collaboration, answering questions, and explaining big ideas. It's all about education first, making sure you're totally comfortable. Then they move on to the action, finding the right buyer and drawing up a formal proposal. It's a really supportive approach. And this is a perfect example of that educational piece. Now, time value of money, it sounds kind of academic, maybe a little intimidating, right? But it's actually a pretty simple and super important idea. All it means is that $1 in your hand today is worth more than $1 you get next year, because you could invest today's dollar and watch it grow. A specialist makes sure you get this, so the deal you make is smart for you in the long run. This brings us to a really critical question. Who's actually in charge here? It's so important to understand where the specialist's job ends and your role as the seller begins. Let's clarify who does what. Look at this breakdown. It couldn't be clearer. The specialist is providing a service. They're the connector, the facilitator. But you, the seller, and your buyer, you guys are the ones who actually make the deal. You own the transaction. You have all the control. The specialist works for you, not the other way around. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. The power stays right where it belongs, with the people actually buying and selling the property. The specialist is an important part of the team, for sure, but they're not a player on the field, they're more like a coach on the sidelines. And this right here, this might be the biggest difference of all. Think about the motivation. For a lot of agents, the main goal is to get the listing, but for a specialist, the goal is to get the property sold. That might sound like a small difference in wording, but it's a huge difference in focus and what they're working towards. Okay, this all sounds great, but you're probably wondering, how does this work? Like, officially? What about the paperwork and the legal stuff? So let's get into the nitty-gritty, the professional fine print that makes this whole thing work. All right, let's talk about the money, because transparency is everything. A specialist's fee isn't some hidden cost or under-the-table deal. It's right there in black and white on the official HUD-1 settlement statement. That's the standard government form that breaks down every single charge for both the buyer and the seller, no surprises. And here's the official term you'll see on that paperwork: third-party service provider. Now, that's not just some random jargon. It's a really important legal designation that makes sure everything follows the rules of RESPA. That's the big federal act that protects consumers in real estate deals. And finally, we have to talk about what a specialist doesn't do. This is absolutely crucial to understand, because knowing the boundaries of their role is key to a successful partnership. Okay, this is a big one, so please pay close attention. A seller finance specialist is not your lawyer. They are not your accountant, and they are definitely not your tax advisor. They can explain the financial concepts of the deal they're helping you build, but for any actual legal, accounting, or tax advice, you must consult with a licensed professional. So when you put it all together, it leaves us with a pretty interesting question, especially if you're thinking about selling your own home. In a situation where you want to be in the driver's seat, could this kind of collaborative, focused facilitator be the missing piece of the puzzle you're looking for? It's a different way to sell your home, for sure. But now you know exactly how it works.